We were always focusing on skills and what are the skills of the future and so on and so forth. But the reality, though, is that what gets automated, what gets augmented, it's work.
What work should stay with humans versus what can we move to AI? Let's say, where should leaders focus first if they want to stay ahead?
There was someone saying that in the future, the decisions to recruit a human will be also dependent on how many agents and the quality of the agents that human will bring. If you do not understand how to leverage this, how to augment yourself, that's the thing. We need to augment ourselves.
What are 3 essential skills that you think professionals should start building today to stay relevant and confident in this AI augmented workplace? And from your experience, what will be the best way for these companies to help people to learn these skills?
I don't want you to use ChatGPT for your assignments. Why? And this is what now we need to build, is people that not only rely on knowledge because an easy prompt on a ChatGPT will give you the answer, but then what does this mean?
Welcome to the Tech4Sight Podcast, the podcast where we are unpacking how technology is transforming not just industries, but the very meaning of work. Today, I want you to imagine this moment. You are a CEO sitting in your office late at night, wondering how your competitors are cutting costs and moving faster than ever, while your own team is struggling to keep up. You've heard that AI can reshape everything, but you are terrified of breaking what makes your company so special. Or maybe you are an HR leader watching colleges burn out as digital transformation stall. You know your workforce has redundant tasks that drain energy and resources, but you also know that slashing roles recklessly could destroy the trust and culture in 1 second. Well, across the industries, there's a growing sense of urgency and fear, and everyone is asking the same question. How do we use AI to redesign jobs without turning our companies into soulless machines? How do we protect what is human in our teams while embracing the speed and precision of technology? How do we cut what is holding us back without cutting what makes us great? This episode is for leaders who know we can't keep working like it's 2019 and who believe the future of work can be both more efficient and more human. Because the question is not if AI will transform your workforce, it's how you will lead that transformation and whether you will build an organization where people and AI together create something better than either just could do it alone. Stay with us. You don't want to miss this conversation. Let's decode the future of work. Our guest today is Nuno Gonçalves, Chief Talent Officer and Head of Workforce Strategy at Raci, a platform that reveals that the real work happening in your organization so you can make smart decisions about what should be done by people and what can be handled by AI. Nuno has been talent and workforce around the world, strategists and global brands like Mars, yes, that's a good company, Nike, and more companies in the scientific and pharma industry as well. He designed work systems across Europe, North America, and Latin America, and brings strategic depth from diverse industries like consumer goods, retail, and tech. He's also serving as a senior faculty and board advisor at the Josh Bersin Academy, helping shape the future of HR. So welcome, Nuno. Thank you for being here with us at the Tech4Sight Podcast.
So much pleasure on my side. Thank you for having me.
Nuno, here on the podcast, we love to stretch our thinking and explore what is coming next. And AI has gone from being the new kid on the block to the boogeyman in the boardroom. Yeah, it either excites or it scares leaders, or maybe both at the same time. I don't know. And what they realize is that they need to redesign these workflows to stay competitive, in your company and also even you as a leader. And to kick things off, I would like to talk about the near term. Let's say over the next 5 years, how do you see organizations redesigning jobs and deciding what work should stay with humans versus what can we move to AI? Let's say, where should leaders focus first if they want to stay ahead?
It's a great question, Diana. And I think there's the today. There's a transition between yesterday and today. And yesterday we got OpenAI coming in and Gen AI coming in. And the reality is that people were trying to understand, okay, but how can we be better? How can we prepare the humans to actually for this world of AI, right? And we were always focusing on skills and what are the skills of the future and so on and so forth. But the reality, though, is that what gets automated, what gets augmented, it's work. And that's the shift that no one has seen before. And arguably, I haven't seen it before in my 25 years of chief learning officer and chief talent officer, is that the biggest shift is in the work. And you need to understand what the work is shifting so that then you understand how to get ready and how to prepare and upskill and reskill the humans for the future. So that's where we are right now. Companies are trying to understand how can they transform work, how can they be better, how can they ultimately automate and accelerate the work that they do, and on the other side, understanding what is the impact on the people side, and how can we have an augmented workforce that combines both digital and human workers together, working together. As AI continues to evolve, and as we will have to continue to evolve as well, because it has to be a duo of work. So, but this is today. So, if you fast forward for 5 years, a couple of things. One, I think that most of the legacy organizations that will stay close to the past will have a lot of trouble because they will have more costs. They will be more complex. It will be slower. And then you're going to see these more native Gen AI folks or these legacy organizations that are more innovative, more risk takers, somehow controlling the world and creating a better world as well from where I stand. So if I project myself 5 years from now, that's what I see. It's a lot of different changes on the Fortune 100 and 500 for the companies that ultimately have more courage to transform themselves.
So if you're a leader today deciding what roles or tasks do you that you need to move to AI or be transformed by AI augmentation, what do you think that the leaders of today they need to start looking at? What roles can they start moving into those areas? And a bonus question will be how can you ensure that the employees that remain they are still engaged and empowered?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think there's a couple of ways that you can do this. There's easy ways. One is you understand AI and you understand agent builders, and you start building agents to ultimately be able to tackle some parts of your work. And you do that like without almost understanding and mapping work, right? That's an approach. You understand your work, you think you understand, you give agent builders to different people in the organization, and then you hope that somehow people will start augmenting themselves. So that's an approach. It's a little bit like a bottom-up approach. Where I see and where I stand, and this is where I think it's one of the biggest pivots, is that organizations need what I call a critical infrastructure of work. So they need to map work. They need to understand how work is done in the organizations. And you would be amazed how little organizations know about work and the work that is being done in the organization. They care about the results. They care a little bit less about the work one way or the other. So what we are seeing and is organizations mapping work very fast. There's ways now, and without disclosing much, maybe in the rest of our conversation, there's ways now for you to map and understand what work is to the level of detail that is important, very granular, so that then you understand, okay, but what type of tasks or activities, whatever you want to call it, that are more production-based, that are more repetitive, those that are more data-dependent, those that have more human judgment, that require more human judgment, less human judgment. So, and if you think about a Jenga or think about a Lego piece, right? That you deconstruct an organization to the smallest level of the Lego piece, and then you start understanding every single one of those pieces, how much of exposure to automation those tasks ultimately have. And that's what a lot of organizations are now starting to do, so that they can have a proactive approach to understanding where they need to start, where do they have more exposure to AI, and then where they will ultimately have a better benefit to assist, augment, or automate AI as well. So you have companies that are diligently trying to deconstruct work to reconstruct after. Deconstruct, automate, and then reconstruct after as well. That's the
On
way
the
that I see
engagement
most
side, right?
advanced organizations.
And on the engagement side, okay, you decide to probably move out into that framework that you have given us, that I guess is great. What do you think that the CEOs and leaders of today can do with their employees? Well, okay, we're moving these pieces to AI. Now you, the team that is staying here, what do I do in order to keep you awake, engaged, ready to continue?
Yeah, great question. I think there's it's a journey, because it's not only once you decide that you have your, here's a team that's going to continue. It's actually before that. I believe. My hope is for transparency. Is that as adults we all see, because as professionals we all see that the workforce is changing, that the work is changing, and I'm hoping, this is a hope, and I know hope is not a strategy, but this is a hope. I'm hoping that CEOs will then ultimately be able to have the transparency to say, you know what, we will have to transform ourselves, we'll need to reimagine ourselves, but the commitment is that we will try to create better jobs, more human-based jobs, more competitive jobs, and we will be upskilling and all the way through, upskilling you all the way through. Now, listen, there will be efficiencies, right? Because that's what AI brings, is efficiencies of work, which means less people to do the same work. The hope is that ultimately we'll have maybe more or less the same people, but to do even more work, and so that companies can accelerate moving forward. So from a CEO perspective, what I'm hoping is for transparency and the dialogues from the get-go in two things. One, we need to create a better company, but then we will be there to upskill you in the direction, create a journey and a career journey for you, of the future as well. So that's the hope that I have, and that's ultimately what I'm seeing as well from different companies that I've been working with.
Yeah, I guess this is fascinating, and it's already like right here, as you said, And building on that, and let's pull back and look at the bigger picture. Like, if leaders start redesigning the jobs today, what do you think that the organizations are going to actually look in 10 years? Because when we were preparing for our conversation today, I was reading two reports, one of the Bain & Company, another one from the Boston Consulting Group. Both of them were saying that they predict a shift from the rigid job titles and dynamic skills-based models. And I'm just thinking, how does the traditional job architecture or the org chart actually are going to change, let's say in the next 10 years? How are they going to look like?
Yeah, it's interesting actually right now. So you might have seen as well, and we're working very actively on this. We are kind of being more aggressive and saying it's the death of job architecture, because the job architecture was made for the Industrial Revolution with very stable job titles and levels and compensation and so on and so forth. Because we need something that is much more dynamic. We're calling it, maybe that will evolve, a work architecture, because the reality is that you need a system that is not only single based on roles. This is the job architecture. You need a system, and that's our belief. Maybe we will evolve. You need a system that ultimately is dynamic, and the dynamic piece comes with the evolution of work. So you need, and that's our perspective, we need a system that sees jobs, because you still need to understand, okay, what do you need to do? Right. But then on the other side, what is the work that needs to be done? And on the other side, what are the skills that needs to be done? So this work architecture is a multidimensional structure that brings the complexity of jobs, tasks, or work and skills, so that you understand when you change in a correlated way. This is important because when you change work, this will impact your jobs, this will impact the skills. When you change jobs, you always need to understand what are you doing in these three-dimensional ways to see the organizational impact and the individual impact, the person as well.
I love this because we've talked about like how organizations, they need to evolve. And if we think into the individual level, AI is reshaping these workflows and roles, right? What are three essential skills that you think professionals should start building today to stay relevant and confident in this AI augmented workplace. And from your experience, what will be the best way for these companies to help people to learn these skills? Just not in theory, but hopefully it's going to be integrating the day-to-day work.
Yeah, I think there's and I've always been someone that says that it cannot be the responsibility of the organization. It needs also to be the responsibility of the individual. The reality is that right now knowledge is there, right? So there is no reason for you not to understand and have not only an awareness and an understanding of what AI can eventually do. Now, I'm not asking you to go and configure agents and build agents and all of that yet. But the reality is that if you're not understanding what will be the impact of AI in your day-to-day life, even if you're, people are doing like shopping with ChatGPT, right? But if you do not understand how to leverage this, how to augment yourself, that's the thing. We need to augment ourselves. Yeah. And I think as I was preparing to this conversation, I think there was someone saying that in the future, the decisions to recruit a human will be also dependent on how many agents and the quality of the agents that human will bring. So you're actually representing you and your fleet and your agency of so that you can say, this is how productive I can be and how good I can be, how augmented I can be as well. So what do we need to do is that one, the uncomfort is there. There's a psychological need for you to be able to be resilient and deal with that uncomfort. That for me is an important one, because that's the only way that you're going to have some positivity to what's coming. The second is literacy, and it is what it is. And then you don't need to wait for a CEO to tell you, and here's a program, whatever. Go and learn. And the third is trying to understand on your expertise, right? In HR, my expertise is HR. So in my expertise, what is the impact and what will change, and then you specialize there. So there's a psychological dimension. Be ready, resilient. You need to be very comfortable on comfort. The second is somehow literacy, so that you can imagine what AI can do today and what AI can do tomorrow. And then is the deep dive on your expertise, because the reality is that if you've been someone that has been doing root cause analysis, for example, in 2020, and you've been considered an expert at that time in root cause analysis, in 2025, if you're doing the exact same thing, you're no longer the expert, because you need to understand how AI is impacting root cause analysis as well. So yeah, those are the three things, if you ask me, that I think we need to work on.
So if we look this at the recruitment level, what changes are you seeing now in how companies are finding and evaluating talent? What do you think that recruiting will evolve over this next decade as these skills and tasks keep shifting? What do you see happening now?
I think it's precision. Precision will. So right now, 5 years ago, the work that I'm doing right now, 5 years ago, wasn't possible, because I'm dealing now with data sets of 250,000 jobs in 23 different industries, and with millions of data points. And then it's only possible with an LLM that actually can help me make sense of all that data. So 5 years ago, I couldn't do that. So right now, that's where I
But you couldn't do that alone, or you will do that like in I don't know how many months, right?
Yeah. And that's the reality. Job architecture programs were done in 12 to 18 months. Right? So for you to build a job architecture of a company that is as complex as the companies that we know, the Nikes, the Mars, and so on and so forth, it was interviews to senior leaders, subject matter experts, data mining, all of that stuff. 12 to 18 months of political game. Right now, the acceleration is tremendous. Right now, my company, the company that I work for, can actually map 4,000 jobs in 8 weeks.
Wow. Crazy.
8 weeks. Crazy, right? So, and the reason is because we now have the data that allows us to make sense and make sense of what we believe and versus what exists in every single one of these companies as well. So that's a huge shift for us in the organization as we see it so far.
I love this. And we arrived to my favorite part of the Tech4Sight podcast, where we have the 4 trends and 4 dreams. And we created this segment because we understand, what is happening today. But that is not enough. I guess that leaders also need to imagine what's possible tomorrow. And with your insight, we're helping leaders also to help them create this exercise about expanding your foresight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we are going to start then, let's going to start first with unpacking these 4 key trends shaping the world right now. And then we'll go and leap into the 25 years from now, into the future. And then we'll see where we're seeing in those areas for 2050. You ready?
I'm as much as I can be,
Yeah. All right. So let's start with your 4 trends today. Tell us, what are the most important shifts you're seeing in how organizations, people, and technology interact?
I see one of the trends is for me the impact on technology. I think a lot of the hypes that we've been seeing in the past 10, 15 years is a lot of focus on technology, and the fact that I believe technology is becoming less important. I know this is maybe a little bit, yeah, because the reality is that it's becoming less the differentiator, because everybody can build technology. I think what is right now critically important for me is the data and the decision making. I see a lot of technologies that were very well valued in the past 5 years decreasing that value because they are not able to lead to decision making, Diana. So and that decision making relies on quality of data and the ability to go from data to insights to actions. So I'm seeing that rebalance a little bit. The hype of technology kind of coming down a little bit. It's still important, but the reality is that it's not the technology. Technology is the shell. What is important is the decision making moving forward.
That's one.
That's one. The other trends that I see, of course, is, and maybe the one that I deal with is the workforce, the augmented workforce trend that we've been talking a little bit, right? So it's the fact that right now we're going to have, we know that AI and is mature enough to help us assist and augment us, not yet to replace some of the tasks and some of the jobs that we do. But that was something that was never this fast, and it will never be this slow. Meaning is that as OpenAI and others will come and evolve LLMs, this will have to be your reality moving forward. That is something that I believe will be one of the biggest trends of change in this world of work as well. So that's number 2. If we go to number 3, what I'm seeing is the separation. How do I call it? The distance between the risk takers and the more conservative economies will be higher. We see that some parts of the world have less regulations and then somehow accelerate faster. Some others have more regulations and will be slower in that change. So what I'm seeing is that as everything around us is accelerating exponentially, yes, we saw the internet, yes, we saw the social media piece, right? Right now, you see all this augmentation that is impacting our work, and I believe that will be ultimately, from a societal perspective, the gap will be bigger on your ability to become an augmented human and a competitive human in different sides of the world, and therefore there will be bigger also the differences between the companies that will be able to take these risks moving forward than those that won't. So that for me is one of the trends. The fourth one is more of I don't know if it's a trend or if it's a hope. Maybe one of the others. Is still very much around a societal piece. I'm seeing different levels of engagement with AI with the different generations, Diana. I'm seeing the some of the younger generations, and I had some conversations with people that are maybe 20 years younger than I am, and that seem to be even more resistant to AI than I am, which is interesting. The biggest hype that I see and people that are more excited about this change seems to be the ones that were not internet native, that had to adjust to internet and social, and therefore I think we've gained a little bit of muscle to be excited about this change, versus those that are more internet native, that ultimately have never experienced, because they were native already, right? They never experienced this level of change moving forward. So that my hope is though that we are able to shift the educational system to accommodate to a different ways of learning, so that you can be so much better and so much more prepared for augmentation as you start getting into the workforce. So that's not a trend. Maybe I'm cheating here a little bit. It's more of a hope, and something that I want to continue to track, because I think it's critically important that our kids are raised in a world that allows for them to be an augmented educators and in education, and then ultimately being augmented professionals as well.
Okay, so then let me help you with the trend. And let's say, what trends do you see in how employee experience for retention or attraction companies are looking at?
Transparency. So that's
transparency. You've been repeating transparency a lot in here.
Transparency, because I think trust equals transparency over time, and that's what I believe. It's transparency over time. If you're in a company that says, we're not looking at AI, it's because there's no transparency. It's not possible, or the company will fail in some years. Biggest trend in employee engagement for me has to be transparency for engagement, because people will need to understand as adults that that on one side the companies will have to be more profitable, because it is what it is. They will have to be faster. It is what it is. It's a competitive market, but there's more than enough savings that will come from automation that will allow companies to divert some of those savings to upskilling, reskilling, and for career mobility, and to reinvent work and jobs as well. So that for me is the biggest trend that I'm seeing in the organization so far. The reality, though, this is important. The reality, though, you also have the ones that are not transparent at all, right? So, and the ones that are not transparent at all are those that are saying, "Oh, you know what? We're going to do a hiring freeze." Why are you doing a hiring freeze right now? Because your results are really good. Because ultimately, internally, what you're saying is that if you don't prove to me that an AI cannot do the job, then I'm not allowing you to recruit as well. And that's somehow of an obscure way to deal with AI, and not as a transparent. So you have those bipolar sides, but the reality is that as you always had, you had the CEOs that were successful and transparent from my perspective, and those that were less transparent, and therefore leading to less engagement as well.
That's super powerful, because it's the look that is unfolding today. And what I would like to do now, let's fast forward to 2050, and I would love to hear your dreams and what work could become 25 years from now. And I know that it sounds like it's a long time, but it's just time just flies. And think about those big, bold changes that you hope to see in how we design the organizations, either develop talent, lead teams, and especially how do we balance that technology with our humanity. You ready for this?
I think I am. I'm
gonna prompt you. I'm gonna prompt you for topics, and then you tell me what would be your dream about those topics. Yeah. So let me do your dream for 2050 on collaboration and partnership.
My dream in 2050 for collaboration and partnership. And
how humans and AI. Yeah, I said that probably how humans and AI could work together, either seamlessly, creatively, or entirely in a new way. What is your dream in 2050 that this will be happening?
So if we see the dichotomy between humans and agents and AI, we will have humans that ultimately will need to be more human. And what do I mean by this? Is that the reality is that you have, from a workforce perspective, you have a lot of work that doesn't require human judgment and human capabilities. So in 20 years, when AI is even much more mature than what it is right now, the reality is that you will always, those that will have um, higher skills and higher proficiency levels in the human skills and in reading a room, in understanding, in empathy, it will be the ones that ultimately will be more successful as well, right? Because everything else will, because we've been talking about AI, we haven't talked a lot about robotics as well. But the reality is that robotics and AI will ultimately allow you to focus on the top of the pyramid of the skills that no one else can have, and that's the judgment that needs to happen. So my in 20 years, there's this society that I see where education has changed dramatically, so that ultimately we are able to focus more on those values and skills, while we understand that not from a knowledge and expertise base, you have AI that ultimately helps you, find the ways and critical, and boost your critical thinking as well. So that's maybe how I see the collaboration and partnerships is one faster, but because we have knowledge base that are out there that are disseminated by everybody, so that to a point it's almost like a leveling with all the different economies. But then on the other side, we're gonna need better humans than what we have right now. Today we have it's a complex world. So I'm hoping that from an education perspective, we're gonna be able to create better humans, those that will ultimately leverage the human judgments to for success.
I like this because it actually helps me to bring our next or our next hope for 2050. How do you hope people will grow and build fulfilling careers in a world that is full of AI and automation?
The fulfilling careers, though, I think so. It's very interesting because humankind is very different, right? And for those like us that study humans, right, we understand different preferences and different styles and so on and so forth. Now, the fulfilling careers will be. So my belief is that ultimately, as you are moving work to AI, that you're going to create. So you're going to create net new jobs, net new skills that will require net new skills. I still don't have a full visibility of what that will be, but the reality is that if you have two jobs that are exposed to automation by 50%, and you remove that 50% out of those two jobs, then what will likely happen is that you'll start creating new jobs that will be more complex, better paid, because they're more complex, better paid, and that ultimately will require you to upskill and reskill yourself, in the future. So the fulfillment for me is one, you will have new roles that will be leveraging your humanity, your human skills, and that will be better paid, and that ultimately will allow you to progress faster as well, right? So I think that fulfillment comes with the fact that everything else that is sometimes boring, that everything else that takes you, 80% of your time will be done by something else. You still need to understand what that is, but then the fulfillment will come not with the fact that you're doing a job, but the fact that you're actually adding value to an organization. Right? It takes you faster. It's not about screwing and it's not about building a car, but it's actually about the value that you're creating for the organization. That for me is fulfillment.
I like that, because then maybe let's going to see what it will be your hope, or your dream for making work more human centered, so that technology is not just driving productivity, but also maybe improving life. So what it will be that dream for well-being and purpose, let's going to call it.
Yeah, I think there's the dream of, and this is where the unknown. So I'm going to tell you one unknown for me, Diana, because we're 8 billion people, right? In the world, and we're life expectancy is higher and so on and so forth. So the biggest unknown for me is how many of those folks we will be able to fulfill, right? Because I don't know how much work will exist in the future. So what we're talking about is the net new work and for the net new jobs, and for maybe a portion of the world, What I don't know is then do we have, work for 2 or 3 billion, if you take children out, and then the elderly as well. Will we have enough work as well? The meaningful work, I think it will be created, but will it be enough or not? So my question is around sustainability as a society. Will we be able to guarantee that everybody has a place in the workplace, and an opportunity to actually be able to deliver, the skills that they have one way or the other? That is the biggest unknown that I have. Knowing that, of course, there will be this net new work that will exist that will be more appealing for you as well. So yeah, that's what.
Okay, we're going to go to a last stream for leadership and culture. What do you wish leadership and organizations culture will look like? That hopefully they will support this future-ready workforce in 25 years from now.
It's an interesting place. I think organizations are more, from a leadership and culture, organizations are more and more important in our society, right? So it's now no longer kind of the governments and all of that. It's the organizations and the corporations that have a very different place. We're at this moment maybe in a leadership crisis moment, Diana. And my hope is that we will be able to create leaders that ultimately see the world as a whole and not as a different part. And that is not only the politics side, but also on the corporations as well. There is more than enough wealth. There is more than enough wealth for everybody. And we keep on fighting almost for survival when it's not really for survival. We can survive, everybody. Now, it's around sustainability. So if you from a hope perspective in leadership is that leaders in corporations are able to be human as well, and not only results driven and financially driven, that are able to see the whole and not the part, that not only see the bottom line and their profitability in their P&L, but they actually see the different dimensions of society and employees and people in their society at large, and their partners as well. You've talked about partners, right? So guaranteeing sustainability for all of us is something that is a hope, because there's more than enough wealth. And if in the past we were all trying to fight for survival because we didn't have enough natural resources, enough money, enough food, there's more than enough. So the hope is that we become more human, and human being less selfish, and more aware that it's not about our individual success. It's about our collective success as humankind as well.
Your answers to these dreams for 2050 brought me two important topics that I believe that we should talk about. The first one is on AI. The expectation that is going to start taking these, as you said, very heavy task jobs that in the past they used to be done by entry-level jobs. So if we think about the Gen Zs of today, right, or even I don't even know what is the next generation that is about to enter to university. 5 years from now, when they leave university, most of AI eventually will be doing those entry-level jobs. So lots of those kids start having tons of anxiety on what type of work are they going to do? What do I study now? Because if when I leave, the university, the entry-level jobs are going to be occupied by AI, what am I going to be doing? That's the one thing that I would like you to probably get your reflection on.
It's interesting enough. So this is very close to my heart, Diana, because I have 21 years old that is in the middle of the college of her college degree, and I'm seeing a lot of those entry level jobs kind of disappear. If you see some of the professional services companies and all that stuff, it's the reality is that a lot of that workforce will be reshaped. My fear is that for this generation, for my daughter, there will be a world where they say, listen, I don't need you to do work and do PowerPoints and to crunch data because I have agents to do that. And I need you, but the entry level will be different. Will be, instead of doing, it will be an entry level of judgment, of understanding, of sense making. right? And the reality is that you're having this education system getting people ready to actually, okay, tell me what to do, and being very little autonomous, versus actually building an education system that helps them think and have this
But this is great
critical
because
thinking.
usually you're able to judge towards experience, right? Like if you have a certain amount of experience doing a repetitive job, when someone else comes and does it, you can say, yeah, this is good or not, or my judgment on this, that is A, B, Z, is this because I have that experience. But if I no longer have that experience, then that experience probably needs to come back into the university level. So I guess that probably, education, especially at the college or professional education level, needs to be amped up like right away. Otherwise,
Yeah.
these kids are not going to be able to get a real judgment, human type of job when they come out of college.
I am 100% aligned with you. 100% aligned with you. The reality is that, for example, when people say, "Oh, I don't want you to use ChatGPT for your assignments," why?
Yeah.
Because the reality is that you need to mimic work. And yes, people will, Claude, GPT, Agent Builder, whatever it is, they're going to need to use AI to be able to do work. So can we do that there? And instead of actually having to push a system in education that is a system that is around, tell me that you have the right answers, because it's a knowledge base, whether it's kind of multitest or whatever it is. I need
Right.
you I need to know if you know what I told you was important. Is what I would prefer is that people would then come out of the college actually saying, listen, let's have a conversation about history, biology, whatever it is. Tell me how do you evolve this? How do you change this? If you go in and see history, for example, it's the judgment. What was the reasons behind the judgment? What do you think about this, right? And the perspective and bringing different pieces. I have the fortune of having a daughter that actually is able to have this different conceptual thinking and putting together, I don't know, art and science and biology and all together. And this is what now we need to build, is people that not only rely on knowledge, because an easy prompt on a chat GPT will give you the answer, but then is, what does this mean? How do I integrate this in the complexity of the dimensions? That's how the educate and for me, for once, there is no hope in the education system because it hasn't changed for decades, right? So
Yeah, it needs to change like yesterday. Well, and then the other prompt that it kind of like got from your responses, I couldn't stop thinking about UBI, universal basic income. And what, like, if eventually all these entry level jobs are going to be absorbed by AI, then there's going to be potentially a lot of people that might not have a work. So then maybe governments or the rich countries might put in there a UBI. But then when you were thinking, or when you were reflecting about purpose, right? And what it is that having a job give you, that well-being, that state of something that I can contribute, that it makes me feel good, because it's not only about just making money, it's about how do I contribute and how do I put a little piece of me to this company. What will be your take on this? How can we get out of that kind of like entanglement in between creating new jobs for people that can be purposeful, and at the same time also from government that can bring solutions that will bring purpose to jobs?
it's a big challenge for me, and I
It's a
haven't
big
called it out
question.
because
I know.
it's a big challenge. I haven't called it out. I know I hinted it about it because I think when I said, listen, everybody needs to have, work or live. But the reality is that if we let me give me 30 seconds of thinking a little bit of more philosophically, but philosophically, I think humankind is at their best when they have the freedom of choice.
Mm-hmm.
When you understand that you don't have to fight for your survival, because you're not at war in a war, or that you ultimately have enough to be able to survive and to have food and to provide to your family and so on and so forth, right? So otherwise, we cannot expect people to actually think about the future and have critical thinking when their concerns is about survival. Right? So philosophically and psychologically, that's true. Now, on the other side, the biggest challenge for me is that I have never had the opinion that the government needs to substitute the person, right? I think creating infrastructure and the lay of, and the for you to be successful, yes, but the biggest struggle is because I'm coming from a country, and right, in where there's a lot of subsidies and people take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And that's something that I was always against. So, but maybe there is no other ways that we need to find a way where it's people will, and everybody will at least have, and that's a dream, again, will at least have the freedom to be able to become what we want them to become. Otherwise, the differences will be bigger moving forward. AI is something that is in one. It's fundamentally, I don't love the idea of people relaxing and being dependent on the government.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I think that everybody should have the chances,
the opportunity,
the freedom of choice, and the opportunity to be able to do something. So I don't know if what are your thoughts there, but if we can find something that ultimately people would take advantage of, would benefit, let's put it this way, would benefit of, but not take advantage of, so that they are kind of trailing all the others that are trying to be uncomfortable and so on and so forth. So I'm not answering to your question.
I guess that we need like another hour just for this topic. And probably what we could do is the next year, I'll invite you over again. And then we see what happened, towards AI in different countries, especially in the rich countries. And then we can think about that question, because we're going very deep into the future. And I would like to probably bring you back the past for a moment and maybe think when you were 18 years old. And remember when you were 18, what it is that if you could go back when you were 18 years old, what advice would you give to yourself then that hopefully will make an impact? What do you wish somebody would tell you when you were 18? So let's take that time travel machine and then go there and tell 18-year-old Nuno what?
Oh my God, you have tough questions. But here's the thing. So I'm going to be biased because it's the moment where I am. So I talked to you about, so I've made in my life, and this, I've been experiencing and being driven by the definitions of success. Right. And for us, success, I'm not going to age you, but when I was 18, the definitions of success that you needed to have a degree, you needed to have success in life, you need to have money, you need to have all of that, right? So the driver was a lot around wealth, right? Because there was scarcity, and it's a century that had 2 world wars.
But not only that, even today, I guess that many people call success if you have obviously in that pyramid of Maslow, right? Your basic things, and then you go up then.
The reality is that so the me of today would release a little bit of the pressure of when I was 18, because I think there's no recipe for happiness. Isn't success also around happiness and how fulfilling your life is? Is it the fulfillment of your life only about money and status and power and all of that? I don't think so. So what I'm trying to do with my daughter and with my kids is hopefully telling them that there's no right answer, that ultimately you need to create your path for yourself. So philosophically, that would be it. On the other side, if I for the 18 years old, I would tell him trust in your abilities, trust that ultimately you'll be able to find out and figure it out and make the right decisions. And if not, then surround yourself with the good people that you know as well. It's as the end result is maybe less important than the quality of the journey. And that's for me it's still a learning, that I'm trying to acquire.
I agree with you. And if we think about this journey, then the real one, not us going back into the time, what's the actual best piece of advice that you have ever received? Do you remember it?
I had many trying to see what is the best piece of advice.
Okay, one that brought you right now to your mind.
The best piece of advice that I've ever received is so I'm fortunate enough to actually have a partner in life, my wife, that is not only that is white, it's the best part of me, right, and this family. And the best piece of advice that I've ever gotten was most likely from her as well, because she's been my life coach, and since the beginning, and the best piece of advice was around the surrounding myself with the people that ultimately augment who I am. I have had to make choices in life, personally and in my career, where I had to give up of people that ultimately were not augmenting myself. There were, and some other person told me, listen, I think there are two ways for you to shine, or because you shine more than the others, or because you have a lot of people shining around you. And that for me is the best piece of advice, is that shine, bring your energy. Don't pull all the others down, and surround yourself of like-minded people, at least on that side of so that everybody can shine a little bit. Again, I think we started with AI and very kind of very tough conversation.
We can stop being humans, and and I love this, because I guess that eventually this is what we learn the most, and this is where we beat the machine. So on that piece, on my corner advice, I call it segment. The last piece I would like to see is, like, if there's any mistake or wrong turn that you've made in your career, that you can remember right now, and it's okay to say no, nothing, But if you have, what did it teach you about living or about doing when things don't go the way that you planned?
Yeah, biggest mistake that I've done in my life was the naivety that I had with corporations. And there was one in particular that it's a sensitive topic, especially for something that will be kind of public, but where you're naive enough to believe on what people tell you, and that ultimately when you get there, the reality is completely different. And I think my naivety was the fact that I've allowed that to happen. I didn't protect myself to the point where I said, listen, no, this is not acceptable. And as we've built our careers and international careers, we need to have this threshold of the things that we can endure, because we've always been educated on enduring everything, but there's just as much as you can take. So for me, it's the naivety was the fact that I ended up making some decisions based on what people were saying, and then ultimately when you get there, it's no longer the reality. And then my mistake was enduring it. My mistake was somehow accepting it, and not actually having the freedom to say I need to create my own path. This is not acceptable, and so on and so forth. So that was my mistake, Diana.
Thank you for sharing that, Nuno. And well, before we wrap up, I want to start this habit here with you that I call like the power picks, because I think that when we share, these mental snacks, I call them, that are quick, powerful recommendations to our audience that hopefully they can take away and put into action. So please share with us maybe a book that every leader should read about the future of work.
About the future of work, I'm gonna
or leadership in general terms.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you about a book that it's for me that has been instrumental in my life. There is a book called Quiet. And it's a book about it's about humanity. And it's about the fact that ultimately, while in this generation, a lot of the power has been given to people that are less quiet, that are more extroverted. There's a lot of power and a lot of power shifts and a lot of impact that people that are more introverted had, in as well in these generations. So it's a book that talks about the acceptance, the difference in the acceptance, and the value that different people will bring to society as well. And that for me was very instrumental to shape who I am, to shape my teams, and the way that I'm a leader and that I accept the diversity, to bring the value for the future. So I think it's still very present today.
What is that startup or innovation in the HR or AI space that you are very excited about it? That maybe you want to share?
No, listen, that's an easy one. I'm sorry. That's I'm going to do a little bit of a commercial of today, because I think I've joined, after 25 years of corporate world, I've joined a company that for me is revolutionizing the HR industry. And it's about the fact that this company has spent the last 3 years obsessing in mapping work and understanding work and how work is evolving in the future. So now we are helping organizations to understand how they do work today and how can they re-engineer work tomorrow. And that's Rejig. That's Rejig. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Me and my ex Rejig. Okay.
No, that's fine. It's and this is very exciting, by the way. There's I wouldn't have joined any other company, after a Nike, after a Sanofi, after a Mars. I wouldn't have joined any other startup in the HR industry than Rejig. And the reason is that ultimately Rejig is powering HR to ultimately drive decision making in the organization and drive the business. And I had a quote from a CFO of a big company that said, after seeing what we can do, that said, listen, oh my God, we will be able to be on the offense with our business, meaning shaping the organization, and no longer on the defense where typically HR is, right? It's like, oh my God, it's not possible. Oh, we can't do this. Oh my God, it's right. Oh, help me understand. And always slowing down the possibility right now for the people in the HR leadership is that you now can be a business leader while you're leading HR as well, because HR can now be as fast or faster than some of your businesses as well. And you can help shape work and people and skills and so on and so forth, which is an amazing opportunity for us.
All right. So then I was going to do this bonus question. If you could instantly, like with a little magic wand, give every leader in the world one skill, what that one skill would be?
Common sense.
Not everybody has it. They say they do, but they don't. Yes.
No. Honestly, my friend, it's common sense. It's common sense. It's the fact that and without common sense, you will never have this kind of idealized society where people think about the whole and not the parts. So if there's a way for us to sell common sense, let's build a company. But that for me it's maybe not it's a trait, maybe not a skill. But if we talk about the skill of a leader and kind of a wand, maybe
it's a good skill. I buy it. I take it. I take it.
Yeah, common sense. Let's go with common sense then.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I'll take it. Right. No. Well, this has been a very incredible conversation. I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and vision. And before we wrap up, I'm going to give you my 3 takeaways. And let's see if I didn't miss anything. First takeaway is the future of work is human plus AI, not AI and maybe human. It's human plus AI. My second takeaway from our conversation is transparency over time. As those shifts are shifting, the task of the companies are shifting, we leaders, we need to be more transparent about it. And the third takeaway that I have is adaptability is that competitive advantage of any person that is looking to make it work in the next coming work. So I guess that This is my. So did I miss anything? Is there anything
No,
you
you're
did
good. You're good. You're good. And I think you're making me think about the adaptability, and I'm concerned about my kids and the generation that has been very native in terms of internet, but less concerned about us. But you're absolutely right. Love your summary. Thank you, and appreciate it.
I guess that what you something that I like that you said is something about like the winners in the AI era will deliver more in the promise of a more purposeful and meaningful work. And I'm hoping that many companies are really thinking about that. So, we've covered a lot of today. Thank you very much. This is a clear a turning point for leaders everywhere. And so I just let me ask you one more question. What do you think for those that are watching us today that are in your same space in the HR? What do you or for those leaders that are just shaping themselves, that are new entrants in this world? What is that first step that they should be taking when they finish listening to this episode? What do you think that they need to do?
I think it's getting ready. Getting ready is multifaceted. So it was never this fast, and it will never be this slow. This means that ultimately you need to get ready, and this is multifaceted, and it's very independent of from people. But a few things. One is if you don't, you need to overcome the overwhelming kind of news around AI and all of that, and you need to create an awareness of how this is impacting your life, professionally and personal. And it's just the first step. It's there. You don't need anyone else, right? It's you. It's like take the step, take the courage to go and see, spend times in whether it's Instagram or YouTube or spend $20, go and have a ChatGPT license and give it a try and use it for personal and professional ways. Talk to your kids, prepare your kids. Minds are not yet prepared. I don't think that anyone's kids right now are prepared for what's coming. So go to your first circle. It's you and your family. Try educate yourself, engage on the conversations, and try to understand how can you take advantage of where you are, because there's no single recipe for success, but you're living in a world that has internet, that has social media, and has AI. Gen AI will have even more robotics and so on and so forth. It's so take advantage one way or the other. So if anything, for those that are listening, one means that you're curious about this. Second, it means that you are trying to understand and figure out what the future will eventually be. And right now is that there's no way. It's a wave that it's coming. It's not a hype. Believe it's not a hype. Prepare yourself and prepare yours to be able to survive and prosper in a world where it will be more complex than ever before as well. So that would be step by step. Let's take the first one.
No, thank you for sharing your insights, your stories, your vision. Has been incredible having you on the Tech4Sight podcast.
It's truly an honor. So you've been doing great work here, Diana, and your ability to think, to rationalize, to bring insights, to bring people from different parts of the world, and to share those nuggets is second to none. So it's a true honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
And to our listeners today, we learned that the future of work is not about fearing AI, but about redesigning how we work so people and technology make each other better. It's about building organizations where skills matter more than titles, and where empathy and adaptability is the ultimate leadership superpower. If this episode got you thinking or gave you ideas you're ready to act on, share with someone that needs to hear it. And don't forget to follow, subscribe our podcast channel on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Spotify or Apple Podcasts, so you will never miss a conversation that helps you stay ahead on what is next. Thank you for joining us. Keep questioning, keep learning, and let's take a smarter, more human future as the work and future work together here in the Tech4Sight podcast. Until next time, I am Diana Daniels. Stay curious and stay ahead to stay foresighted.